In this lesson, we will tackle the most common mistakes of hamza and how to get over them. And here I have to remind you that there is a difference between the hamza and the alif, which I explained extensively in this lesson. And what I'm about to explain now is the hamza and the mistakes that are related to it, so they will not apply to the alif. The most common mistakes of hamza can be categorized to mistakes that happen at the beginning, in the middle, and at the end of the word. So let's start with the beginning. And the first mistake that happens when hamza comes at the beginning of the word is pronouncing it as as in the word up, for example, which could happen because of the effect of your mother tongue, since some languages don't have a in their system, but they have instead. Another reason for this mistake is when the hamza is followed by a full mouth letter. Full mouth letters form the word khus, ضغط, qadh. So if any of these letters followed the hamza when it comes at the beginning of the word, the chances of this mistake happening increases because of the tendency of taking the hamza in the full mouth trade along with the letter that comes after it. So understanding the root cause of the problem can help you get over it much easier, inshallah. And as a general rule that you can learn and apply, you can start any word in the Quran with a. Let's look at the first example. وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَهُمُ الْبَغْيُ هُمْ يَنْتَصِرُونَ. Notice that I said أَصَابَهُم and not أَصَابَهُم. So even though the sad is a full mouth letter and we should say saw, we still can't pronounce the word as أصابهم and rather say أصابهم أصابهم. وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا أَصَابَهُمْ. Next example. وَمَنْ أَظْلَمُ مِمَّنْ مَنَعَ مَسَاجِدَ اللَّهِ. Again, we say أظلم أظلم. So the hamza is pronounced as an empty mouth letter. We don't say أظلم, that is not correct, but we say أظلم. Next, when the hamza comes in the middle of the word. And the most common mistake that can happen when hamza comes in the middle is that the hamza is not audible enough when it is in the middle of the word. This would happen especially to those who don't speak Arabic as the first language, since hamza is essentially stopping air from passing through. And if you're not used to doing that, it might be challenging in the beginning. The hamza should be audible at all times, and it should not be lightly pronounced or barely audible. So, what does it sound like? Let's have a look at this example. يا أيها الذين آمنوا. So you have to show the hamza in this position. It has to sound like this. يا أيها الذين آمنوا. Another example. فَأَثَابَهُمُ اللَّهُ بِمَا قَالُوا. So it should be فَأَثَابَهُمُ اللَّهُ بِمَا قَالُوا. And pay extra attention if two hamzas follow one another, like in this example. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا سَوَاءٌ عَلَيْهِمْ أَنذَرْتَهُمْ. So you should show both hamzas and say سَوَاءٌ عَلَيْهِمْ أَأَنذَرْتَهُمْ. And here you might be thinking, but there are some other qira'at that actually skip one of the hamzas and they don't pronounce every single hamza. And I would agree with that. However, if you are actually reading in this qira'ah, then that will be okay. And if you know how to apply the rule, then that would be no problem. But if you don't know how to apply it, and you don't know when to pronounce the hamza and when to skip it, then you might read the Quran in a way that has never been revealed. Finally, when hamza comes at the end of the word, 9 out of 10 times hamza will come after a mad, whether that will be mad alif, waw, or ya. There are, of course, instances when hamza does not come after a mad at the end of the word, but these are very few cases. So I will focus on the first kind, when hamza comes at the end of the word after a mad. And when this happens, there are two common mistakes that are usually made. The first one is not showing the hamza properly when it comes at the end of the word, which can give an indication that the word does not end with a hamza. The second mistake is when you exaggerate the pronunciation of the hamza, and as a result, there will be a little sound of ha that follows the hamza after you have stopped. Let's have a look at these examples to understand this even better. سيقول السفهاء. Here I didn't pronounce the hamza fully, and it didn't really sound right either. So how should we pronounce it then? سيقول السفهاء. So this is what happens when hamza is not fully pronounced. What does it sound like if it is pronounced with exaggeration? أو كصيب من السماء. So as you can hear, there is a little ha that appeared after the hamza because I exaggerated the pronunciation of the hamza. This should not happen. And it should sound like this. أو كصيب من السماء. So how can we pronounce it like this? And how can we solve both of these problems? Well, the best way to pronounce hamza properly when it comes at the end of the word after a long vowel that has mad on it is by applying nabr. Nabr means placing the stress of the word at the part that contains the hamza, which is then the last syllable or the last part of the word. This concept was also extensively explained with many more examples in this lesson. So if you recognize any of these problems in your recitations, I highly recommend watching this lesson. Finally, if you've heard any other mistakes related to the hamza and you haven't seen them explained or highlighted in this lesson, then you can let me know about them in the comments below. Thanks for watching. If you want to start your journey to learn the tajweed of the Quran, you can click on this link. And if you want to understand the Quran in Arabic, then you should click on that link. And finally, I hope you've learned something new today, and I will see you next time.